This Day in Sports History. This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. Sterling Soap is 100% natural and with a variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, cologne, and many more personal care products in a large variety of scents, you're sure to find something that's perfect for you or that special someone in your life. Check them out at sterlingsoap.com. And welcome back to another edition of This Day in Sports History. It's June 8th, and on this day in 1989, the Pittsburgh Pirates radio guy's mouth wrote a check that his feet eventually had to cash. At this point in the season, the Pirates were not playing very well. They'd lost 7 straight, and they were playing the final game of a 4-game series against the Philadelphia Phillies on this day. Now, the Pirates had been scoring runs, just not enough to win, it seemed. Their pitching was letting them down. In the majority of the games during this losing streak, the Pirates had held a lead only to give it up in the middle to late innings. In a game back on the 2nd in New York, Pittsburgh had scored the go-ahead run in the top of the 11th, only to give up 2 in the bottom half to lose. Well, on this day, the Pirates came out smoking.
6-0, the Pirates lead, and Bonds with a drive, deep right field, go ball, get out of here. It's a 3-run shot for Bonds, and the Pirates lead 9-0. Base hit to center. The Pirates have reached double figures.
Pittsburgh plated 10 runs in the top of the first. Now, surely they would be able to hold on to a lead of that size. In fact, Pittsburgh radio man Jim Rooker was so confident, he made quite a bold announcement in the bottom of the first.
Well, a leadoff double for Randy Reddy.
Well, I'll tell you something right now. If we lose this game, I'll walk back to Pittsburgh.
Maybe he should have waited a few innings before being so bold, because the appropriately named Pirate starter Bob Walk only lasted 3 2/3 innings while giving up 6 earned runs after a pair of 2-run shots, one by Von Hayes and another 2-run dinger by reserve second baseman Steve Jeltz. Even Pirates manager Jim Leyland figured there was more to come.
I could have told you then that there was a good chance we were going to lose that game. When you're a manager, your gut usually tells you that something's not right. It's a freaky thing, and you can usually feel it.
When Jeltz belted a 3-run shot in the 6th off Bob Kipper, the Pirates now only led 11-9. And then when Jeff Robinson threw his second wild pitch of the inning, the game was tied at 11. The Phillies struck for 5 in the 8th to win the game, going away 15-11, and Rooker was on the hook for his regrettable first-inning boast. Now, Rooker did do the walking, just not on this night. He flew back with the team after the game and waited until after the season ended to take on the task of walking the 300-plus miles from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh, a route that if you drove it would take about 5 hours. Rooker walked between 20 and 30 miles each day for 12 days, completing his walk on October 17th. His journey, that he called Rook's Unintentional Walk, raised $81,000 for the Pittsburgh Children's Hospital along the way. So the Phillies scored a bunch of runs in that game in '89, but it's not even close to the Major League record for runs in a game that was set on this day in 1950 when the Boston Red Sox plated 29 against the St. Louis Browns. An 8-run second inning kickstarted the scoring. Future Hall of Famer Bobby Doerr hit 3 home runs and drove in 8 in the game. Ted Williams had a pair of home runs with 5 RBI, and the 29 runs that the Sox scored on this day would stand alone at the top of the list before being equaled 5 years later by the Chicago White Sox. It would not be until 2007, when the Texas Rangers scored 30 against the Baltimore Orioles, that the record would be topped. On this day in 1968, it was the end of Don Drysdale's amazing 58-inning scoreless streak. Although maybe the better way to say that would be Don Drysdale eclipsed the Major League record for consecutive scoreless innings, since that happened on this day too. When Drysdale pitched his 56th straight inning without allowing a run, he passed Walter Johnson's mark of 55 2/3 scoreless innings, set back in 1913. The 50,000 fans at Dodger Stadium that day gave Drysdale a standing ovation. The streak lasted another 2 innings until Philadelphia was able to push a run across in the 5th. The streak had started back on May 14th with a shutout of the Cubs. Boston's Larry Bird had a lot of great games in his 13 years as a Celtic, but it was a game on this day in 1986 that he called the best he ever played, and it came at a really great time. Truly great players show up and perform in the big games, and that was the case in this one. This was Game 6 of the NBA Finals against the Houston Rockets. The Celtics were up 3-2 in the series with a chance to close it out in the Garden, a place where they'd won 40 straight and 49 out of the 50 that they'd played there that season. Larry was doing everything on the court that night, dishing it, rebounding it, stealing it, and of course, shooting it.
There's Sampson and Walton. 2 seconds on the shot clock. Bird wants a 3 out of it, and he gets it.
Bird finished with 29 points, 12 assists, and 11 rebounds. He added 3 steals as well. Now, this is just one of the 69 games that Bird posted a triple-double in during his career, but after all was said and done, he called it the best game he ever played. With the U.S. Open golf tournament getting started this week at Oakmont, let's go back to an unfortunate event that happened on this day in 1940 at the U.S. Open. The Open was being contested in Beechwood, Ohio that year, and Ed Porky Oliver was in contention as the final round got underway. But as is prone to happen on a summer day in the Midwest, a thunderstorm looked like it was brewing on the horizon. So in an effort to get out ahead of it and hopefully beat it, Oliver, along with several other players, decided to tee off early. When he rolled in his putt on 18 for a final round 71, he found himself tied for the lead with Gene Sarazen and Lawson Little with a 3-player playoff to be played the next day. But there was a problem. Golf rules prohibit a player teeing off prior to their designated tee time, and Oliver, along with the 5 other players who'd tried to beat that storm, were disqualified. Sarazen and Little battled it out in the 18-hole playoff as just a pair the next day, with Little winning by 3 shots. Oliver always seemed to be snake-bit in the majors. He finished second to Ben Hogan in the 1946 PGA, second to Julius Boros at the 52 Open, and another second-place finish at the 53 Masters. On this day in 1966, the NFL and the AFL agreed to merge and established a championship game that became the Super Bowl. This all came about because of hubris on the part of NFL owners in the late 1950s. After the 1958 NFL championship game between Baltimore and the New York Giants drew 45 million television viewers, several wealthy businessmen wanted in on the action and approached the NFL about expanding. They were rebuffed, and so a group led by Lamar Hunt formed a rival football league they called the American Football League with 8 original teams. When the AFL got started in 1960, fans were drawn to the different style of play. It was a more open offense with a lot of passing. The NFL was more about 3 yards and a cloud of dust. There were rival drafts, players were recruited to come play in the AFL with bidding wars driving up contracts in both leagues. When the AFL signed their own television contract with NBC in 1965, the competition was getting to be too much on both sides. The New York Jets were able to coax Joe Namath to come play in the AFL with the largest pro football contract to that point. So on this day, they agreed to the merger, with the completion of the merger slated to happen in 1970. They agreed to hold a common draft to eliminate the costly bidding wars. The NFL would absorb all of the AFL franchises, and they decided in the interim to play a championship game between the 2 leagues at the end of the 1966 season, which became the AFL-NFL World Championship game between the Green Bay Packers and Lamar Hunt's Kansas City Chiefs. And it was played on January 15, 1967. And while that championship game is now known as Super Bowl I, the term Super Bowl would not actually be used until the 3rd championship game in 1969. Have you ever wondered what the jazz scene is like in Utah? I mean, typically a team's nickname is reflective of something in the city or state. Well, on this day in 1979, Utah got a basketball team as the NBA Board of Governors approved the move of the New Orleans Jazz to play in Salt Lake City. The Jazz's stay in the Crescent City had been a short one at just 5 years. They played at the Superdome, which was not only too big for what they needed, but it was shared with other events, and a lot of times the team had to defer. New Orleans was not going to build them a basketball-specific arena, so the owners started looking around the country, and Utah gave them a chance to be the only game in town and the only game in the state. The assumption was that the name Jazz would be dropped for something more reflective of Utah, but instead the team said it was an established name, had recognition, and a heritage, so they kept it. But while local Salt Lake City officials had been excited about the team coming to play there, the locals didn't embrace the team immediately. Instead, support was tepid in the early years, and it really was not until the dynamic duo of John Stockton and Karl Malone came to town that attendance started to pick up. And time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. Marie Curie had no way of knowing that the radium she discovered in 1898 and won a Nobel Prize for research of in 1911 was harmful to her at the time. She left radium out in the open in her lab and even carried some around in her lab coat pocket because, well, she enjoyed the faint fairy light emitted. Curie's notebooks containing her research are still highly radioactive and will be for another 1,500 years.
Say what?
This has been an original Thrive Suite production.